Good morning, y'all. Fuzzy Biker here in the Fuzzy Biker Garage. Today we're going to talk about the Hot Rod Himalayan over yonder. I'm like 100 miles away from 20,000 miles on that bike. I got it August 23rd. Today is April 14th, so what is that? Eight months or so. Pretty proud of myself. Did a lot with it. Winter came and, I rode other bikes in the meanwhile and all that neat stuff. But I just got back from a 4-day ride. We went down, we did 1,455 miles, something like that, in 4 days. Me and two other guys. One guy was on a Tiger 900, a 2024 Tiger 900. That thing was kitted out with everything. The other guy was on a Honda NS 750, NC 750, something like that. One of the ones with the trunk and the fuel tank. Both were amazing motorcycles, both good guys. We traveled very well together, and I really appreciate that. I enjoy traveling with them. I want to throw that out because I want to do it again, of course. Anyway, the bike itself, this one did just fine. I did talk to those guys about that. So one was a 900cc bike, one was a 750cc bike. This is a 452cc bike. And so I asked, and we talked about that because I wanted to know what to tell you all. Will this bike hang with the big boys? And the answer was absolutely. They never once thought I was underpowered. I never once felt like I was underpowered. I held my own very well. We did the Talamina Trail, the Pig Trail. We stayed on pavement the whole time. The bike performed flawlessly. It kept up on the interstate. I think the highest speeds we probably hit were 85 or 90 on the interstate, keeping up with traffic, right? And it did it just fine. No struggles there at all. I never sat there, with my throttle wide open thinking, what the heck? The bike just had plenty of go. So I am totally sold on this. Of course, I did a 1,000-mile day ride on this bike once. I did an iron butt, it's 1,030 miles, I think, in 16 hours and 1 minute. I've been to 20 states. I've been to Canada with my Canadian Moose. I call it the Nomad because I go everywhere on this bike. Of course, we're going to go take it to Alaska this year, and there's all the 20 states I've been to so far. It's a very capable motorcycle. It'll do all those things just fine. I got a lot to say about the bike, and I don't really know where to start, so I started with that. The bike fills a need for me. I call it my favorite motorcycle of all time, and I've been thinking about that a lot the last couple days. My old favorite motorcycle of all time. I've owned dozens and dozens of motorcycles. When I got the original Himalayan, this one back here, I got that 3.5 years ago. I begrudgingly rode one. They made, Baxter Cycle asked me to put a couple hundred miles on one. I didn't want to do it because I thought, why would I want to ride a bike with 24 horsepower? This bike only has 24 horsepower. After 100 miles, I knew I was hooked. I rode that bike 180 miles that day. I waited a month, and then I went back to Baxter's and I bought this bike, and over the next 3 years, I put 31,000 miles on it, and it just became my buddy. Everything I wanted to do, everywhere I wanted to go, it would just do it. And the only thing that bike would not do is go fast. And I've said that in many of the videos about that bike, was it just wouldn't go fast. Its top speed was 80, 85 if you're going downhill, Well, this one will do everything. This one will do the highways, do the interstates. We did Colorado BDR on this. We crossed rivers with this. Colorado Mark has a Himalayan just like this. Probably the best kitted out Himalayan you'll ever find. And these bikes are just very capable. They'll just do it all. I can drive this bike, and I have several times to Colorado, get to Colorado, then we go off-roading. We climb. It's been on dozens of mountain passes. It's over baby heads and up, through mud. And I don't like mud, but I'll just throw that. I don't like mud. And it just does everything. So in that sense, this is a very capable motorcycle. I got caught in 300 miles of rain one day, heavy rain at that. I'd like to have a bigger windshield. This is the windshield I had on it. I had very good gear on, so I was able to survive the rain. I got to the hotel, and I wasn't soaked to the bone because I had my Royal Enfield Nervic jacket on. I got a little water through the neck, a little at the waist, but otherwise I was dry on the inside, so I had heated pants on. Anyway, the bike's very capable, and it will do everything, Back to Canada, I'm going on here, but bear with me. I rode up to Canada one day. I think I drove 500 miles one day, got up to almost to Canada. The next morning, I hopped on the bike. I drove into Canada to Thunder Bay, mucked around up there for a little bit. The big rains were called for in the weather, so I turned around and started heading home. I drove 800 miles home. that day. And so in 2 days I drove 1,300 miles. I think that's what that adds up to. And the bike had no, no complaints. So, okay, so what is it? It's a liquid cooled single cylinder, dual overhead cam, 4-valve engine that puts out about 40 horsepower, 30 foot-pounds of torque. That's about 40 Newton meters. Has an amazing 6-speed transmission. Now, it's a very smooth 6-speed transmission, but it's not as smooth as like the Bear or, like the 650 here. But it's a very smooth transmission. It works very well. It's got a couple quirks that are not really worth mentioning. Like the distance from first to second gear is greater than the rest of the gears, other than fifth to sixth. Fifth and sixth is also a little longer for some reason. But the transmission works very well. And this is in a motorcycle that has a transmission that has to work as a dirt bike, as a street bike, as a running around a gravel road bike. This transmission was designed to do it all. So this engine transmission is really something else. So when we picked these up on August 23rd, that was the first day they were released in America. Royal Enfield wouldn't give us an early bike, but they said, if you're here at 8 o'clock on this morning, we will lend you 2 motorcycles. And they did. And this was one of those motorcycles. Jeremy from Baxtercycle.com, he said he facilitated, he set that all up, and we showed up and we got the bikes. And we were in Utah, we rolled off, and by the time we got to Colorado, which was really our first stop, that's how close to Colorado we were at the time, we got off the bikes, and I told him, I said, send him a text saying we're not giving these bikes back, we want a bill. So that's how much in love we were. But the big thing we came out, this is an amazing engine. It's an amazing engine, but the big thing we thought was the suspension. We both hopped up our bikes, and it's got an upside down fork, 43 millimeter, with about 200 millimeters of travel. It's about 8 inches. With a 21-inch front tire, and on the back it's got 8 inches of travel also. It's a link, it's a monoshock with a link, variable rate link right there. Again, 8 inches of suspension, 200 millimeters, and the suspension was just mind-blowingly good. I mean, it's a stock suspension on a, what are these, $6,000 motorcycle, $7,000 motorcycle, and I'm a big guy, and I am, and it worked flawlessly. It's a fun, good handling, comfortable, enjoyable. I don't know how they made a bike that can do everything so well, but they did it. 21-inch front tire, just like the old one. 90/90 protection for the forks right here. They put a 320 millimeter disc on the front this time with a dual piston vibri caliper. The old one had a 300 millimeter disc. The bike just works fabulously, And while I'm here, I'm going to mention, this is the original tire with just about, 100 miles short of 20,000 miles on it. And it doesn't have that, it's wore out, I'm getting a new one, but it doesn't have that wore out feel. So these Seat, I think that's the brand, these Seat tires are fabulous. Now, so the bike, that's the front suspension. Going back to the back, it's essentially, it's a 8-inch travel, the increase of travel in the rear, big old monoshock, easy to adjust. I notched mine up 1 click. They got a tool. It's just so easy to get to. Everything works fine. Loads of clearance. Look at that. And I think it's a 270 disc on the rear this time. These are ABS front and back. You can shut off the ABS on the back. Single piston vibri caliper. This bike has tube tires. They also make them tubeless. You can also get your tube tire bike updated with the tubeless tires if you want, tubeless rims. The bike has, this had a Seat on the back. I ran it about 7,600 miles. And then I put I had a long trip coming up, 2,000 miles. I think I was going to Alabama. I was going to see my good buddy Ed over there. And so I went in and I put this Dunlop Trail Max Mission on. That was 12,000 miles ago. So this tire has 12,000 miles on it. The original Seat got 7,600, and I'm absolutely sure it would have gone to 10,000. I just was going on a long ride, and I wanted to change. So engine's amazing. Transmission is great. Tire, suspension, fabulous. Just fell in love with it, just fell in love with it. Oh, and by the way, ground clearance, 230 millimeters, which is about 9 inches. I never bottomed out my old one, which had about 8 inches of ground clearance. So I think this thing probably has more than enough ground clearance. I'm running the stock skid plate, muffler protector right there. Look at all that dirt. Like I said, I just got back from, I was going to say I just got back from a trip. That trip, that's why it's so dirty, but I never cleaned my bike, I guess. So let's talk about comfort for the rider and rideability and all that neat stuff. The bike has an upright seating position. You reach the bars a little bit, but not too much. They reach to you as well. You know, it's got your knees are like this. You know, it's almost level here. Your heels are pretty far forward. But they're still behind the knees. You can stand up and down on the pegs really well. You know, works really well that way. I have a rally seat on mine. That 1,400, 1,500 mile trip I just went on, I had the seat on there. The stock seat is over here. It's a very comfortable, very wide seat. But I wanted to try this rally seat and see how that worked. And I think it wasn't as comfortable as the stock seat, especially on a long ride, but I wanted to see how the seat would work. What this seat allows you is it's narrower through here. So when you stand up, your legs don't hit as much here. Also, you can slide back and forth. So if you're out on the technical stuff, which on this trip we were not, but if you were, you would be able to slide back and forth pretty well. I got this net here. I got that at where did I get that? Baxter Cycle. This is a Rhino Walk net, and the crazy thing is it's like 15 bucks. You know, very stretchy. I stretched on I had that bag over there with Royal Enfield. I had one of those back here with all my stuff in it. Very good seating position, very good comfort that way. Like I said, you reach for the bars, good throttle. It's fly-by-wire, by the way. You know, jumping up here, let's just talk about that real quick. You've got an information button back here, clutch, of course, flash to pass button right there, low beam, high beam, blinkers. This is the toggle switch for this thing over here. Horn, of course, jumping over here, kill switch, run switch, and if I push that over there, it's in neutral, I'm gonna hit it. Start button right there. Kill switch right there. This is your mode button. So it's got 4 modes. So it actually only has 2 modes, plus each mode has ABS on and off on the rear. The modes are eco mode and just regular mode. Now I've never had mine in eco mode and I don't know the value of it. One fellow was telling me when he rides in mud, he puts it in the eco mode and he said it has the throttle isn't quite as twitchy, and maybe that's the value of it. I'm not sure. I want to show you this real quick. This is the dash. I think this is about 5 inches. It's TFT, big old tachometer on the outside. And it's got a fuel gauge right here, gear indicator in the center. Over here is speedo. This is the time, ambient air temperature, high lows for the lights. You know, all the odometer over here. If you go over here and click the joystick, this is the joystick over here, right there. See the bottom? Now we're at trip 1, trip 2, fuel range, consumption, voltage, service due, and temperature gauge. I think that's all I have on this one. So, you know, a lot of information right there. Another trick this thing has is you can put this you can make this into a nav system by tying it in with your phone. It's a little bit cumbersome in that you have to leave your phone screen on. And I did that, and I put my phone in the bag here, and the nav system worked fabulously. I just didn't like the idea of leaving my phone, on the whole time. By on, I mean you can't minimize the home screen if you leave the screen on. It did work very well. One of the neat things it did was, and you can zoom in and out with your joystick when you've got the nav on there. And one of the neat things it did was I crossed the Mississippi coming back into Iowa, and my fuel light came on. The minute my fuel light came on, my nav screen came on, said low on fuel, nearest gas station, blah, blah, blah. Would you like to go there? Something like that. Confirm or deny, and I hit confirm. It took me right to the gas station. So very nice. On this bike, I've added, this is something I think every traveling bike, and this is a traveling bike, should have something like this. Is my air pressure on my front and rear tire. Now that says 25 for the front. That's actually 4 pounds off. So my front tire right now is 29 in it. The rear tire is 32. I like that because you get going, you're on the road for hours and hours, or you're on soft road, gravel or something, you hit something and you feel like you're mushy in the back. You can look down and see if your tire pressure is going down. My buddy on the Tiger this weekend had the same thing on his. His is built into the bike. He's going the route. He hit a nail, and his tire pressure started going down. He said his whole dash turned red. So we pulled over within half an hour. We had that fixed. There's 3 of us guys out there, all of us with tire repair gear. So we had enough stuff to repair 30 flat tires. He had tubeless tires on his bike, so we pulled the nail out, put a plug in it, and down the road we went. Aired it up, hit an air compressor, and down the road we went. This is my old Garmin. I got this for free. I think Baxter Cycle had it sitting on a shelf, so I used it. It works very well. I do like it. It gives me, when I'm going somewhere, I'll put the destination in. Like when I was coming home yesterday, we were somewhere in Missouri. I put, you know, my hometown here in the nav, and no matter where it was, it would tell me how far it was from home, and that's what I'll do. And then if I'm out riding and I see a road I don't know, I'll just take that road, and if I want to get back to where I'm going, it, you know, tells me how to get to where I'm going, get back. So, you know, I think these are like $250 now for this model, and I don't know what model it is. 296 maybe, or 396, I'm not sure what they call it, but it works really well. Other things I did on this bike, I put these double take mirrors on. One of the best ads I had. Okay, so the windshield was one of the best ads ever. You should just go ahead and get a bigger windshield. And I'm actually thinking to get the GV windshield, which is bigger. Baxter's out of those right now. They may have them in now, but one of the best ads with these double takes. And the reason they're such a good ad is they're wider. They don't vibrate as much. They're infinitely adjustable while you're going down the road. You don't have to get your tools out to adjust them. You can just move them around with your hand. They've got these things here if you need to do that kind of adjusting. If you get in the rough, and I've never had to do this, but you get in the rough, you can fold them in so they don't get whipped by trees and whatever. This is another thing I got. These are Barkbuster Storms. If you notice, they're black. And I got those at 3dcycleparts.com. They are, I'd never heard of them before. I wanted these, they had them. I, you know, contacted, got the stuff from them. I put them on both sides in about an hour. They were easy to put on. You know, they shipped them right away, all that neat stuff. Turns out all my KLR friends, when they saw my sticker or when I talked about this company, all my KLR friends not only had known about them, but had purchased from them over the years. The company was well established, you know. Check those people out. They're pretty darn good. Anyway, very good ad. Keep my hands protected, keep them dry, keep them, you know, keep the cold off. Another neat things that I've added, these bags here. I got this one on this side, and I've got this first aid kit on this side. And what I found immediately was it kept the wind off my knees. And my buddy Colorado Mark, he has bags on the front of his. And he told me, he said, when you put those bags on, you're going to appreciate the wind protection. That's just what I found. So, worked very well. I got to reattach this. We actually used this kit when we were doing the tire change. The guy cut up his hand, and so we got that first aid kit out and patched him up. Running back this way, this was donated by a friend of mine, and I like it. I just like it. I didn't like the idea of covering up my fuel intake here, but as it turns out, it's easy to take, you know, pop off when I need gas. I'll pop these loose. I just slide it back a little bit. The gas goes in fine. You know, I've got I can phone charge. I've got my, you know, this is the USB-C that's on the bike. Let me see if I can get this open for you all. I can stuff my gloves under here when I want. You know, it's got this clear top, which I don't really use maps or anything like that. So, but if I ever would, you know, look at that mess. These are, if you ever get caught in the rain, you want these waterproof gloves. Again, that's a Colorado Mark thing. I've got a utility knife, a little battery pack. You know, I've got this really cool flashlight here. You know, isn't that neat? Fits right there if you ever need it. It's always handy. A little pouch on the front there. This is that company right there. That's the model. Like it a lot. Like it about. I already told you about this. Another neat ad. Probably one of the most important ads after the windshield, these Barkbusters and the mirrors, would be this box. And I love this box. You know, it was expensive. They're not cheap, but they are worth every penny of money that they cost. In the fact that I get off the bike, I want something. Look, my big old jacket's in there. You know, so on the ride, you know, I had this jacket, I had a light jacket. So I had both those jackets in there. I've got 3 pairs of gloves in there. Well, 2 pairs in the pair I was wearing. I've got my winter gloves. These are Tourmaster Polar Tech, I think is what they're called. Again, all this came from Baxter Cycle. Yeah, Tourmaster Polar Tech gloves. You know, those are my heavy-duty winter gloves. These are my Royal Enfield Alpine Star. These are my mid-temperature. So I'd start my morning with these. I'd put these on later, and then I'd go to my Noru, which I don't know where they're at. I had my ventilated Noru gloves on there, and I wore those almost from noon on. That's what I wore every day. But look at this. You know, my drink, present for my grandson, battery pack. You know, lots of space, and I've got a flashlight in there to keep. You know, in the dark I can see. This is going to be my waterproof document holder right there. But I did that 300-mile ride where I got caught in the rain. I had this on the back of the bike, and I was certain this would just be a swamp when I opened it up. Got to the hotel, opened it up, bone dry. And they don't sell it as waterproof. They say it's water, you know, resistance or whatever. But so far, I haven't got a drop of water in there. knock on aluminum, I guess. And it came with this nifty little backrest right there. A great ad and a great place to put your stickers, you know. All kinds of neat stuff on there, right? Bigfoots and, you know, this stuff here, my Canada sticker. I like it. I like it a lot. It's been a great bike. I just, you know, problems I've had with it. At 14,000, I was coming back from Canada, and I got home. I think I went to Canada like on a Friday, Saturday, or a Saturday, Sunday, or something like that. I just checked the chain before I left, adjusted it, oiled it, all that neat stuff. Got up to Canada. I check my chain every day. I check my oil, antifreeze, chain, and tire pressure every day. And got back from Canada, came right here to the Fuzzy Biker Garage. Next day I hopped on this bike and I drove to Baxter Cycle. That's 6 miles away. Chain made that wore out chain noise or loose chain noise. And we got to Baxter's, you know, like I said, 6 miles. The chain was totally shot. I mean, destroyed. So in the course of 1,300 miles, the chain went from a great chain, or, you know, an okay chain, to totally destroyed. And we put this, you know, I don't even know the brand, but Baxter Cycle put that chain on there for me. Haven't had any trouble since. We're going to go to Alaska, and right before we leave for Alaska, we're going to put new sprockets front and rear, new chain, and we're going to put new tires on front and back, among other things. Brake pads, let's talk about that. I'm running stock brake pads. I have not checked them today at 20,000 miles. The last couple times I've checked them, they were fine. So no issues with brake pads. That motorcycle over yonder has the original, at 31,000, has the original brake pads, front and rear. The rear brake pads are wore out. Not to the point of destroying the rotor, but they're you know, they need to be replaced. And the front ones are still good on the wear indicators. So see that one there? That's my good buddy Tony's bike. Same bike. That one's a couple years newer. Far better transmission. That's one thing Royal Enfield does, is they constantly upgrade their bikes. So every year they make something better on every model. So they do a very good job. So is this the right bike for the right job? It has been so far, you know. Oh, foot gear. You know, these had rubber pads in them. When I picked up the bike in Utah, the pads were gone. They gave them to me, and you know, here you go. They handed them to me, and I've never put them back on. These have been very good. They work very well. I have had no trouble with them. I have no desire to change them. I hit a raccoon in, I think it was Nebraska, and you know, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. The sun was just coming up. I'm going down the road. The raccoon runs out in front of me, right through here, and bang! I hit it with the foot peg. And I looked down, and this was just gone. I thought, oh man, I lost the lever, you know. Well, pull over, and it was there. It was just wrapped up underneath here. So I got my toolkit out, and I used a bar, and I straightened it up, and I got it like that. And well, it's still working, so there's no sense in changing it, you know. Valve adjustments, let's talk about that while I'm thinking about it. We did the valve adjustments at, I think it's 6,000 or 12,000. They were within spec, no problem at all. So after that, you're supposed to check them every 12,000. I waited about another 5,000, and we checked them again. And the intake valves were just a little tight. So we went ahead and adjusted, got them back into center spec. And we're going to check them again right before we go to Alaska. I think that 29,000 of my next check is my next check. And we'll check them then. And if they need adjusted, we'll adjust them. So right before Alaska, we're going to change the oil also and check the valves and new air cleaner, all that neat stuff. I did put a DNA air filter in there. Does it help performance? I think it does. But what it really does is it just makes the bike, it has a really cool sound, and you think you're like, you know, race car guy or whatever, Kenny Roberts. You just turn the gas, it makes a big screaming sound, you know, wham. So it's been a great bike. How about adding a catalytic converter, or a cat delete, I guess it's called, or maybe a different pipe? I'm going to Canada, and I'm worried that they won't let me in if I do a cat delete. I've done a cat delete on a couple bikes already, and several of my friends have done them. And the immediate thing is you definitely feel a power increase. And do I want that? I don't. The bike has plenty of power for me the way it is. I would benefit from it, but I don't want to go through Canada. I don't want to go to the Canadian border and have them tell me you can't come in because you have a cat delete, or, you know, go to California and say, oh, you got a cat delete, we're going to give you a ticket. You know, you pay us thousands of dollars because you don't have a cat on your bike. So I'm going to leave that. Also, I like the stock. I like the way the stock muffler looks. That filthy, look at that mess. Holy moly. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to change it right now. The bikes that I have seen where they've done the whole pipe have got a substantial increase in performance. I mean substantial, where they've done the whole pipe. And they're also much louder. I don't think I want to get this bike any louder because of the fact that I sit on it. Well, in the 4 days I sat on it for 1,450 miles. You know, I don't want to have to listen to the loud pipe while I'm doing that. So I think I'm going to leave it alone. You know, is this my most comfortable bike? Is this my funnest motorcycle? All that stuff. You know, well, this is actually my most comfortable bike. When I go on, I rode this 840 miles one day. It's got a very comfortable seat, a great seating position, forward controls. I can put my feet on the front pegs or the back pegs. I love forward controls, by the way. You know, it's got a good windscreen. It's got great luggage capacity. It's a very good motorcycle, but it's not dirt capable, and it limits what you can do in that sense. When I travel, I want to be able to do what this bike will do, and this bike is my second most comfortable motorcycle. How about fun? Well, this is my funnest motorcycle right now. This thing is just a hoot to ride. This is my Royal Enfield Bear. By the way, this is my Royal Enfield Super Meteor 650. This is my Royal Enfield Bear. And I get on this thing, and this is a great 200-mile bike. And it just, 200 miles of riding bike. It just is a hoot to ride. It's got awesome low-end torque, and it's playful, and it's exciting, and it looks good. You go to a gas station, people come up and talk to you. People come up and talk to you on that too. And on that, and on that. Anyway, it's a great motorcycle. I did add YSS on the back. It's just an Interceptor. This is an Interceptor. The Bear is an Interceptor. It's got a slightly longer wheelbase. Interceptor is one of the funnest bikes ever made, and I finally got one last November. That's this one. I've got 1,500 miles on this. I'll do a review on that too. So no, this is a great all-around motorcycle at 20,000 miles. I can't say anything bad about it. It's been a joy. I haven't had any real issues with it that I can think of offhand. The tires have wore out. We've kept the oil change. The valve adjustments have been within perimeters. I think I am going to switch back in the next long ride to the stock seat. When I go to Alaska, I'm going to put the stock seat back on. If you ride a lot off-road, you might want to, if I was going to go to Colorado again, I might take this seat with me, because when we do the BDRs out there, or the off-roading, or if you chase Colorado Mark around, you're going to do a lot of standing up, because he knows all the good roads out there. That might be the seat to go to Colorado on. Anytime I'm going to chase around with him, I might use that. Got it rigged up pretty good. It's been a great bike. 20,000. It's been running great. I think I'm going to try to get. I'm not going to try to get. It's just the way I ride. I think by the time we get ready, we're going to go to Alaska. We're going to meet in the mighty mini-tropolis of Marnie, Iowa, at Baxter Cycle, June 21st, and we're going to leave the next morning, June 22nd. June 21st is a Saturday. Sunday is June 22nd. I think by then I'm going to have about 30,000 miles on this bike. We think Alaska is going to cost us about 8,000 miles, plus or minus. On the map, it looks like about 3,400 miles each direction if we just go to Tok. I think I want to go to Anchorage. Depends on what the crowd's like. So I think we're going to get an 8,000. So we'll have 38,000, 40,000 by the time we get back from there. And if everything goes the way I go, by the end of this year, the way I ride, it's going to probably have 50,000 on it or close to it. So at least 40, maybe 50. And I think it's going to do it just fine. We just haven't had any trouble. When I went to Chennai, India, Royal Enfield invited me to tour their factory. They told me that they test these to be indestructible to 100,000 miles, 100,000 kilometers, which is 62,000 miles. That's their, they want them, no problems, right up to, 100,000 kilometers. And I've been testing it. And, of course, things like chains and things like that have to be changed, brakes and stuff like that will wear out tires. But, if you do your oil and maintenance and all that stuff, they think it'll do that just fine. And we're going to find that out. Now, the bike has a 3-year unlimited mile warranty on it. So, it's gonna be interesting how, if I own this for more than a year, it's going to have a lot of miles on it. And we're going to find out just how well these bikes hold up. And I do plan on owning this for at least a year, right? I've had a Himalayan now for four years about. So it's been a grand machine. I can't say enough good about it. I'm going to just jump over here. This is where the mighty mini-tropolis of Marnie, Iowa is, the middle of Iowa right here. Western Iowa, Omaha's over here. This is Nebraska. We're going to go from there to a campground in Nebraska, in the Sand Hills of Nebraska. It's just an amazing area. I love going there. Then we're going to go up here to the Black Hills, and we're going to spend a couple days there. Then we're going to make our way over here to the Beartooth Pass, Chief Joseph Highway. That's supposed to be one of the most beautiful roads in America. We're going to do that. Then we're going to run up here to Banff National Park. Jumping over to the Canada map. This is Banff right there. From Banff, we're going to go up through Jasper. We're going to take this road over here to Dawson Creek. That's the beginning of the Alcan, Alaskan Canadian Highway. And then we're going to take that highway all the way to Tok, Alaska, which is actually up there. I've got an Alaska map, I just haven't put it up yet. And so that's going to be quite a ride. And you know, if you're interested in all of that ride or part of that ride, any part of it, you know, if you just want to ride from here to right there, or here, or here, or here, if you want to meet us here and ride up to here, or, you know, if you want to ride part of the ride, we got a bunch of guys that are definitely going from here to the Black Hills. We got a bunch of guys that claim they're going to go to the Alaskan or the Canadian border with me, and we've got a handful of guys that claim they're going to go all the way to Alaska. If you're interested in that, you know, meet us in Marnie, Iowa, June 21st, 2025, and we will leave the next morning. We're going to camp, we're going to hotel. It's a loose ride. It's going to be, you know, we're going to have destination points. You're going to, you know, get on your bike, and you're going to be responsible, you know, everybody will be responsible for their own camping or hoteling or their own motorcycles, their own navigation, all that stuff. But if you want to be part of our group, get on it. You know, if you have a Himalayan, you'll fit right in. Any bike is welcome. But okay, so if you're interested in a motorcycle like this, a brand new or used Royal Enfield Himalayan, parts, accessories, thingamajigs, doodads, need actually Triumphs or vintage British bikes of any type, get yourself over to Baxter Cycle in the mighty metropolis of Marnie, Iowa. They've got helmets, boots, gloves, jackets, socks, underwear, accessories of all kinds, especially with this bike, any Royal Enfield. Meet us there at the mighty metropolis, or go to baxtercycle.com. If you're interested in the Alaska trip, go to Facebook, The Fuzzy Biker on Facebook. I've got information on there. We're going to try to put a video up there every week about that trip until the trip goes. If the weather's good where you're at today, and like it is going to be here, get on your motorcycles and get out there and ride, my friends. Life is good. Get on and ride. Wahoo! 3. Wahoo! 3. Wahoo! 3. Wahoo! Wahoo!